At family dinner, my mom kicked me out. "You will not get an inheritance, never," she said. I smiled sweetly and showed how much money I had in my bank account. 30 minutes later. At a family dinner, my mother threw me out. "You will not get the inheritance, ever," she said. I smiled sweetly and showed her how much money I had in my bank account. It was supposed to be a party. My grandmother had turned 90, and the whole family had gathered at her house to celebrate. She was resting in the other room. She tired easily these days, but she had been happy to see everyone earlier. The dining room table was full of food, drinks were flowing, and conversations bounced around between relatives catching up. Everything was fine until my mother decided to ruin it. She leaned back in her chair, swirled her wine glass, and sighed. "After all, she will die soon, and this house will be mine." The words struck the table like a blow. The laughter and chatter stopped instantly. The clatter of forks on plates, the occasional chuckle from side conversations, everything froze. I turned my head slowly, thinking maybe I had misheard. But the smug way she said it, the way she barely hid her satisfaction, made my stomach churn. "Are you serious?" I asked. She looked at me, confused. "What? You just said you were waiting for Grandma to die so you could take her house." She scoffed, waving her hand. "Oh, don't be dramatic. I'm just stating the obvious. She's lived long enough. It's time." I could feel the tension in the room. My aunt, her younger sister, had gone pale. My cousins exchanged glances, their eyes widening. Even the family friends who were there shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I pushed my plate aside. "This is your mother you're talking about. The woman who raised you, took care of you. And you act like she's just in the way?" Her expression darkened. "Oh, give me a break. You think I don't see what you're doing?" I frowned. "What am I doing?" "Pretending to be the good guy," she snapped. "You just want the inheritance for yourself. You always act like you're better than everyone else, but I know the truth. You're waiting, just like the rest of them." She gestured around the table, as if everyone were part of a secret conspiracy to take what she believed was hers. The silence in the room grew deeper. My aunt put down her fork carefully, as if afraid to set off an explosion. My younger cousin looked as if he wanted to disappear under the table. I let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Are you out of your mind? Oh, don't laugh at me." She slammed her hand down on the table. "You think you're so independent, so successful, but at the end of the day, all you want is a piece of what's mine. Well, guess what? You're not getting a dime. None of you are. The house, the money, it's all mine." The anger, the sheer greed in her voice, it was almost surreal. She had completely lost it. I sat back and shook my head. Then, without a word, I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen on her. The color drained from her face. She stared at the number, her mouth opening and closing as if she wanted to say something but couldn't form the words. The amount was not small. I won't say exactly how much, but let's just say it was well over $500,000. I didn't need Grandma's money. I didn't need anything from her. I had built my own life, my own success. For 30 minutes, she tried to recover. First, she pretended it was a joke. Then she tried to make excuses. Then, worst of all, she started to apologize. She said she didn't mean it, that she was emotional, that she wasn't thinking straight. She even had the nerve to say that she could use my help with something, some financial problems she was having. I stood up and pushed back my chair. "This is Grandma's birthday. Not a day to talk about money." The disappointment in me was overwhelming. I walked away. But what I didn't know was that this was only the beginning. Something worse happened that night. I left my mother sitting there, humiliated, but I couldn't shake the sinking feeling in my chest. The whole situation was disgusting. This was supposed to be about Grandma, but instead it turned into a showcase of my mother's greed. I got in my car and drove home, hoping to clear my head. A few hours later, I was lying on my couch, scrolling through my phone, when my cousin Emily called me. "Jonathan, you have to come back," she said, her voice urgent. I sat up. What happened? It's Grandma. Something's wrong. I didn't even hang up before I grabbed my keys and headed back to the house. When I got there, the living room was a mess. My aunt was pacing, my cousins were whispering to each other, and my mother, she was nowhere to be seen. I rushed into my grandmother's room. She was still in bed, but something was wrong. She looked weak, more pale than usual. My aunt was kneeling beside her, holding her hand. What happened? I asked. My aunt looked up, her eyes red. She collapsed right after you left. She was fine, and then suddenly, she just went quiet. My heart pounded. Did you call an ambulance? Of course. They should be here any minute. I turned and looked around the room. Where's Mom? No one answered. That's when I realized she was gone. The paramedics arrived and took Grandma to the hospital. I rode with my aunt, my mind racing the whole way. It couldn't be a coincidence. My mother had been acting crazy, and now, the moment she realized she might not get what she wanted, Grandma's health took a turn. We got bad news at the hospital. Grandma had suffered a stroke. It wasn't serious, but at her age, any medical problem was dangerous. The doctors said she needed rest, but she would survive. That's when my mother finally showed up, strolling into the waiting room as if nothing had happened. She wasn't crying, she wasn't panicked, she just looked irritated. I walked right up to her. Where have you been? She blinked. What do you mean? Grandma had a stroke and you disappeared. She scoffed. Oh, please. I just needed some air. I didn't believe her for a second. I looked at her hands, and that's when I noticed something. Her nails. There was red under them. Not nail polish, something else. Blood. I grabbed her wrist. What the hell did you do? She yanked her arm away. Get your hands off me. The room fell silent. My aunt stood up. What's going on? I stared at my mother. What did you do? She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. I was just in the kitchen. I cut myself, okay? But something in her face told me that wasn't the whole story. The nurse came in and said we could see Nana now. When we walked into the room, she was awake but weak. She looked at my mom and something flickered in her eyes. Fear. I stepped closer. Grandma, did something happen before you collapsed? She hesitated and looked at my mother. My mother gave her a sharp look, almost like a warning. And that's when I knew something terrible had happened before I left the house. And my mother was involved. Grandma looked at me, then at my mother, then back at me. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but she remained silent. The fear in her eyes, the hesitation, sent a shiver down my spine. I leaned closer. Grandmother, you can tell me. Has something happened? She opened her mouth, but before she could say anything, my mother suddenly burst into tears. Loud, dramatic, attention-seeking. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. She grabbed Grandma's hand and squeezed it, her voice shaking. Mom, I love you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you. It was an act. A disgusting, manipulative act. And Grandma knew it. Her frail fingers twitched, trying to pull away, but my mother held on. That's when I noticed the bruise on Grandma's wrist. It wasn't there before. Anger boiled in my chest. Let her go. My mother shot me a glare, but she let go. Grandma exhaled slowly, relieved. The doctor came in, interrupting the moment. He went over Grandma's condition and said she needed rest and would be monitored for a few days. My mother, of course, acted devastated and made sure everyone saw how worried she was. I didn't buy it. Neither did my aunt. That night I stayed at the hospital while my mother went home. I didn't trust her anywhere near my grandmother. And as it turned out, I was right not to. Around 2 a.m., I left the room to get some coffee. When I returned, I saw a figure standing by Grandma's bed. It was my mother. She was whispering to her, leaning close to her. The moment she noticed me, she jumped up. Oh, you scared me. I ignored her and went straight to my grandmother. Are you okay? She nodded weakly, but didn't look at me. I turned back to my mother. What did you say to her? She waved her hand. I just told her to rest, that everything would be fine. Lies. I had had enough. Get out. She gasped. Excuse me? You heard me. Get out. You don't care about Grandma. All you care about is her money. And I don't trust you around her. She scoffed. Oh, don't be ridiculous. I stepped closer and lowered my voice. I've seen the bruises on her wrist. For a split second, her mask slipped. A flash of something dark crossed her face. Then she smiled, false and sweet. You're being paranoid. But fine, I'll go. I have better things to do than be falsely accused. She turned on her heel and walked out, but not before giving Grandma one last look. One last warning. I sat by Granny's bed and held her hand. I won't let anything happen to you, I whispered. She gave me the faintest of smiles before closing her eyes. I didn't know it then, but that was the last peaceful night before everything really fell apart. The next morning I woke up to the sound of my aunt shaking my shoulder frantically. Jonathan, she's gone, she whispered, her voice shaking. I jumped up. What? Mom. She left in the middle of the night. No one knows where she went. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. My mother never left anywhere without making a scene. If she left quietly, it meant she was up to something. I pulled out my phone and checked my messages. Nothing from her. But then I noticed something strange: 2 missed calls from an unknown number around 4 a.m. No voicemail. Just silence. I looked at my aunt. Did she take anything? She hesitated. I don't know. But when I checked Grandma's bag, her house keys were missing. I felt my chest tighten. We have to go. Now. We rushed out of the hospital, got in my car, and drove to Grandma's house. My heart was pounding the whole way. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew my mother was up to something. When we got to the house, my worst fears were confirmed. The front door was wide open. We ran inside. The place was a mess. Drawers were open, cabinets were emptied, papers were strewn everywhere. My mother had searched the house. My aunt covered her mouth. Oh my God, she's looking for something. I stormed through the house, checking each room. When I reached my grandmother's bedroom, I stopped dead in my tracks. The safe was open. And empty. My mother had taken everything. I clenched my fists. She stole from her own mother. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unfamiliar number. It's mine now. Don't try to stop me. I showed the message to my aunt. Her hands were shaking. She's out of her mind, she whispered. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I called the bank. I need to report fraudulent activity on my grandmother's accounts, I said as soon as someone picked up. The woman on the other end asked for details. As I began to explain, my aunt gasped. Jonathan, the deed. I turned. What? She ran to the desk and began shuffling through papers. The deed to the house. Grandma kept it here. If it's gone. She stopped, her face pale. I went over and looked myself. The folder where Grandma kept all her important documents was missing. My mother hadn't just stolen money. She had stolen the house. I gritted my teeth. She's trying to take everything before Grandma even. I stopped myself, unable to say it. Then another message came. You should have kept your mouth shut last night. I stared at the words. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was war. I stared at the message, my grip on the phone tightening. My mother wasn't just taking the inheritance, she was making sure no one could stop her. And if she was threatening me now, it meant she had something planned. I turned to my aunt. We need to go see the lawyer. Now. She nodded, still shaken, and we rushed out of the house. On the way, I called Grandma's lawyer, a man named Mr. Calloway, who had handled her estate for years. He agreed to meet us right away. When we arrived, he was already waiting in his office, going through some files. As soon as he saw us, he frowned. "Jonathan, I was just about to call you." I sat down. "It's about my mother, isn't it?" He sighed and pushed a document across the desk. "She came in this morning." I picked up the paper and scanned it. It was a power of attorney application. "She's trying to take legal control of Grandma's finances?" I said, my voice rising. Calloway nodded. "She claimed your grandmother was no longer mentally capable of handling her own affairs. She wanted me to sign off on it." My aunt gasped. "Please tell me you didn't." He shook his head. "Of course not. I've known your grandmother for decades, and I know she's still of sound mind. But your mother was insistent. When I refused, she left in a hurry. And now that I see you here, I guess she hasn't stopped." I told him everything: how she stole from the house, how she disappeared, and how she was now sending me threats. Calloway's face darkened. "This is more serious than I thought. If she forges documents or finds another lawyer who's less ethical than I am, she could take control of everything before your grandmother even dies." A shiver ran down my spine. My mother wasn't just impatient, she was desperate. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unfamiliar number. "Check your apartment. Enjoy the surprise." I shot out of my chair. My apartment. I grabbed my aunt's arm. "We have to go. Now." We ran to my apartment, and as soon as we got there, I knew something was wrong. The door was ajar. I hesitated for half a second, then pushed it open. The sight that greeted me made me sick to my stomach. My apartment had been trashed. Furniture overturned. Drawers pulled out. Clothes ripped from my closet. My laptop was gone. My safe where I kept personal documents was open and empty. Then I noticed something worse. The wall. Written in big red letters, smudged and uneven. "You should have stayed out of this." My aunt grabbed my arm. "Jonathan, this isn't just about money anymore. She's dangerous." I exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm, but my heart was pounding. My mother had hired someone to break into my house. She wasn't just playing legal games anymore, she was threatening me. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I pulled out my cell phone and dialed 911. "This is Jonathan Carter. I need to report a burglary. And I have a strong suspicion that I know exactly who's behind it." My mother stood there clutching the disinheritance papers, her face pale as a sheet. The weight of what had just happened finally began to sink in. She wasn't just losing access to Nana's money, she was losing everything. My aunt crossed her arms. "Looks like all your scheming was for nothing. You can't do this," my mother whispered, shaking her head. "This isn't fair." I stepped forward. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? After you treated Grandma like a burden? After you stole from her while she was still alive? After you tried to rob us all blind?" She opened her mouth to argue, but the lawyer interrupted. "Jonathan is right. This was entirely your mother's decision, legally documented before she died. There is nothing you can do about it." Her hands trembled as she clutched the paper, scanning it as if hoping to find a loophole. "This can't be real. This must be some kind of mistake." My second aunt, who had flown in the night before, let out a cold laugh. "No, the mistake was thinking you could get away with it. You sat there and waited for Mom to die so you could take everything. You treated her like an obstacle, not like family. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. She's gone. But guess what? You're left with nothing." My mother's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. My aunt wasn't done. "We may not have been able to stop you from treating her like garbage while she was alive, but we sure as hell aren't going to let you profit from it." My mother let out a short, bitter laugh. "Oh, so what? You think you all deserve it more than me? Do you?" She pointed at me. "Mr. High and Mighty with his fancy bank account? You think you can just kick me out of my own mother's estate?" I smiled. "I don't need Nana's money. I never did. But I'll tell you this, you're not getting a damn cent of it either." Then the lawyer spoke again, his voice calm but firm. I should also inform you that per your mother's last request, you must vacate her home immediately. Any further attempts to claim ownership will be met with legal action. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. My mother began to shake her head, her breath coming in short gasps. No, 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 no! You can't kick me out of my own house. My first aunt gave her a sharp look. It's not your home. It never was. You've all turned against me, she shouted. You! Before she could finish, my second aunt grabbed the papers out of her hands and tore them in half. Not the legal ones, the copies my mother had brought. The ones she thought she could use to manipulate the situation. Looks like you don't have a leg to stand on anymore, my aunt said coldly. My mother's face twisted in pure rage. You think I need any of you? Fine. I'll go. But don't come crawling back when you realize I was right. We all just stared at her. No one spoke. No one stopped her. And that's when it hit her. For the first time in her life, she had nothing. No money. No home. No one by her side. After everything was settled, my aunts took possession of the house. They didn't sell it or renovate it into something unrecognizable. Instead, they kept it almost exactly the way Grandma would have wanted it. The old family photos stayed on the walls, the furniture barely moved, and even the backyard garden was still carefully tended. The only difference? The energy inside. It wasn't a house filled with tension, greed, or whispered resentment anymore. It became a home again. A place where we could all come together, not out of obligation, but because we truly wanted to. Now, every couple of weeks, my aunts invite me over. Sometimes it's just for coffee, sometimes for a full dinner. My cousins come over often, and on special occasions we get out Grandma's old recipes and cook together. It's funny, after all the fights over the house, it ended up exactly where it belonged. Not with one person hoarding it, but with the family, shared the way Grandma would have wanted it. And my mother? She found a man. A man with some money, though from what I hear not nearly as much as she had hoped. She's living with him now, apparently trying to get back to the life she thought she deserved. I don't keep tabs on her, but I hear things from time to time through the extended family. She hasn't changed, still as bitter and manipulative as ever, but the difference is that no one in the family listens to her anymore. She's on the outside now. And I think that's what bothers her the most. Not losing the house. Not losing the money. But to lose the power she thought she had over us. My aunts got the house, and our family, the real family, got to move on without her poison dragging us down. And honestly, I think it's the best legacy we could have asked for.